Hi guys, it's Sade from Sadie Saves the Day, and I have something extra super special for you today. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Eventually Everything Mixes brand of handmade, cruelty-free, vegan watercolor paints. I was so lucky that recently I actually got to meet the maker of these paints, Ame. She had tagged me in a post on Instagram, and then we realized that we don't live that far from one another, and I made a trip down to Berlin. And I'm so happy that I got to meet her because she is just such a really nice and fun and wonderful person. And she's also super generous, and she gave me these paints that I'm reviewing today. So just a little bit about Eventually Everything Mixes. Like I said, they are vegan, which is actually something that's fairly rare in watercolor paints. Many watercolor paints use honey as a humectant, and many watercolor paints also use ox gall as a dispersion and surfactant agent. And Ame doesn't actually use genuine ox gall, which comes from the gallbladder of an ox, or I think also cows. Instead, she uses synthetic ox gall, and she also uses different sugar syrups and other things to get the same professional quality level of paint without these animal products. And I know that that's really important for a lot of people. I'm not vegan, but I do really appreciate and care about caring for our earth and caring for the animals who live on this planet with us. So it also is really great to me that these are cruelty-free paints, because actually there's a decent amount of pigments that are made out of animals. It's also really cool to me that she cares about the environment, because there are some paints that are known to be toxic to the environment and to aquatic life. And Ame tries to avoid all of these things in her paints, and she still ended up making these really nice quality paints. So this is the first time that I've ever used handmade paints, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. I've heard that if things are not milled well, that there can be weird textures. But these paints are really great. I had no problem working with them. It felt like working with any other paints. I wasn't super frustrated by layering with them, or I didn't have any troubles re-wetting, so I was really happy about that. And on top of that, Ame uses clove oil as an antibacterial agent, so all of her paints smell like clove, and I just love that. That's so cool. Okay, so about the stats. Eventually Everything Mixes paints are available in half pans, full pans, bottle caps, and dot cards. They're made by hand in Berlin, Germany by Ame. She has both sets and open stock paints. Right now she has one special edition set called Oslo, which is just gorgeous. There are 20 colors in the range, but I believe that she's going to be updating them soon. 18 are excellent light fastness, and 2 of them are good light fastness. The colors that I'm going to be reviewing today are Lausitzer Ochre, Pyroline Maroon, Water by the Pier, and Free He Wanted to Be. I just wanted to say that I actually really love the packaging of these paints, the little labels, the washi tape. I especially love the tropical washi tape that's all over the Pyroline Maroon full pan. That is so cute, and I am into everything tropical these days, so it was perfect. So let's get to swatching. First, we have Lausitzer Ochre, which is a yellow ochre, which we just talked about on this channel with Denise. And I really love this version of ochre. It's really beautiful and vibrant. I'm just really excited about it, and I can see myself using it a lot. Of course, another thing that I love about it is that it comes from Saxony, which is where I live. So it's kind of cool to have a local earth paint, which is not something that you generally get from a big name commercial brand. It's not a dull paint, it granulates a bit, and it has a decent amount of dispersion. Next is the Pyroline Maroon. Ame gave this to me because I commented on her Instagram page that this is my favorite color. I really love Pyroline Maroon, and this color does not disappoint. There is so much pigment in the pan that she gave me. I feel like once you take a sleep off of this pan, it's just chock full. When I looked at my rinse water, it was just, the entire thing looked like it was made out of purely maroon. You can see that this color has a lot of dispersion and it's just such a deep color. If you put it on full strength, it's just overwhelming. So the next two colors she gave to me on a dot card, and they're part of her Oslo set. And I was really shocked by these because I'm not a big fan of using multi-pigment colors, but I'm so happy that she gave me samples of these. Water by the Pier is such a gorgeous, moody color. Even though it has PR 101 in it, which I would expect to make it kind of dull, it's still very vibrant. It's just this really deep blue, which does remind me of Water by the Pier. And Free He Wanted to Be is the color that I would never have expected to love as much as I do. I'm not the sort of person who has a Payne's Gray on my palette or anything like that, but something about this color just makes me happy every time that I see it and makes me want to use it a lot. I love the granulation, I love the way the colors separate, I love that it's just really muted, it's really nice. So altogether, this actually ended up being a nice set of colors to try out. The colors have about the sort of opacity that you would expect based on their pigment numbers, so I can pretty much tell that there's not any kind of weird binders or anything in it. And the lifting ability is also basically what I would expect knowing about these pigments. Pure Maroon is more staining, the ochre is more lifting. Water by the Pier, because it has Prussian blue in it, is also more staining. And Free He Wanted to Be is more lifting. That's pretty normal. You can really see when you look closely at like the texture that's in every single one of these colors. None of them is really boring. They all have something interesting that's going on, and I think that that's so cool. Okay, now we're getting to mixing. So I'm gonna do just a mixing chart, and then I'm going to do a triad using the Lausitzer Ochre, Purely Maroon, and Water by the Pier. These colors mix really well, and they're really deep. Sometimes when colors are not very pigmented, they don't end up getting to a really nice deep dark point, but you're going to see that some of these colors can mix to basically a black without very much effort. That's how pigmented they are. One thing I want to mention is actually, even though I love the Free He Wanted to Be, that is the only color that's a bit difficult to re-wet. I have to kind of scrub at it to get a decent amount of pigment load off of it. The Lausitzer Ochre mixes really well with the other pigments, and it doesn't dull them at all. All of the mixes are really nice and vibrant. You even get a sort of mossy green when mixed with the two bluish colors. So this is what I was talking about. Mixing Purely Maroon and Free He Wanted to Be makes just like this intensely crazy black color, which I was not expecting. You have to water it down a lot to even get something lighter. And adding Free He Wanted to Be to any of the other colors just really just adds a little bit of something to their character. So I'm going to do this triad here, and I was really pleased with the range of colors that you can make from it. You can't really make a bright purple, but that's to be expected considering the red and the blue that we have, but it's such a nice earthy combination. It reminds me of something that the old masters would have used. I also just had a couple of swatches on the bottom, like that big brown swatch is actually just what happened when I cleaned my palette. So that's actually a really nice brown color. I made a couple of mistakes with some of the positions of the colors on the color wheel, but you get the idea, right? Mixing the yellow ochre and the Purely Maroon, you get a lot of earth tony colors, these kind of warm browns. Mixing Lausitzer Ochre and Water by the Pier, you get some surprisingly vibrant greens. They're sort of mossy or like deep tropical water. You see how dark the colors get once I mix the blue and the purely maroon. That's just crazy. So here's what the colors look like dry. You can see the granulation from the mixtures on the mixing chart. That brown that I was talking about, that was just a combination of all the colors. And this is what my palette looked like, and I thought that that looked so pretty, so I wanted to show you. Also, I wanted to show you what the dot cards look like. This is after I painted a portrait, I painted another picture, I painted all of these swatches, and there's still so much of this color left. Her dot charts are very generous. The collaboration that I did with Denise just a little while ago, you would have seen this wave crashing on a beach, and this was also done with Eventually Everything Mixes. The water is a combination of Water by the Pier and Freer He Wanted to Be, and the beach itself is mostly just the Lausitzer ochre and I think a little bit of that blue added. It was perfect for a beach scene. So I decided to test these paints painting a portrait. Normally I use a ton of other colors and I do an underpainting and all that stuff, but I somehow just thought that these colors would be perfect for a portrait, and so I decided to try it. One thing I forgot to mention earlier is that there's actually a decent amount of color shift with many of these colors. I don't feel like I normally notice that much when I'm using my commercially made paints, but when I'm using these, I do notice a decent amount. I do love that since these colors are so pigmented, I can water them down a lot and there's still a lot of color that's coming onto my page. I also just really love the way that these colors flow and move on the paper. I had no trouble layering and glazing at all. The colors got richer and deeper as I wanted them to. One thing that I don't know if it was just me and the change of the seasons or these paints, but I felt like they stayed wet on the paper longer than my other paints. I'm not necessarily saying this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I think it would be something that is good for you to know. I had no trouble lifting off when I needed to lift off, but paint stayed still when I wanted it to. So even though I don't normally like doing portraits with earth colors, I actually felt like this turned out pretty well. Something about the paints just made me feel really relaxed and want to play around and be sort of laid back, I guess just like the girl in the picture. Maybe it's the clove oil was doing something to my brain. But overall, I think that these are super fun and I really want to get more of these paints. A ton of her paints are sold out, so I can't wait until they're back in stock. I feel like she has colors that are really different than what I see many handmade watercolor artists providing. A lot of people are really just going for a lot of really bright colors, and Ame seems to go in a different direction. Her colors are moody, atmospheric, and use pigments that I haven't seen in other brands like the PB71. And when I talked to her, I could tell that she really cares about this and really thinks a lot about what is the best way to go about making these pigments. She's always wanting to learn more about pigments, learn more about the best way to put them together, about mixing, about what they want to do. And I think that that's so cool because I feel like a lot of people just don't care about a lot of stuff. And it's cool to meet people who care about stuff very deeply. When you know that someone genuinely cares and is trying to improve at what they're doing, you can be pretty sure that you're going to get something that's had a lot of work and love put into it. And I can definitely feel that with these paints. In the end, because I was just having so much fun, I gave my girl just a watery hairdo, and I just dipped some more of that beautiful Lausitzer ochre into her hair, and I loved everything about it. You can see how nicely everything flows, and I just would recommend these. Overall, I would give these a 5 stars out of 5 because I feel like they're very high quality, they're unique, they function well, and they're vegan, cruelty-free, environmentally friendly, and they also support an independent artist who is also working to create workshops for people who are not normally interested in art. So there's just so many cool things about the paints themselves and everything behind them. Guys, go check out these paints. I'll have the links in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was fun. Talk to you guys soon. Bye!